I think the reason that losing your job to being chronically ill sucks so bad is because it's freaking not even your fault. When you lose your job because of chronic illness, it really sucks. It'd be different if you didn't like your job or you were bad at it or, there were reasons that you could control in some way. But no, when it comes from a chronic illness, it's literally completely and utterly out of your control. And that's just freaking unfair, especially when you work really hard to climb that ladder to get to where you want to be in life. And to just have that all taken away from you is really, really hard to cope with. And so in this video, we're going to look into that. I think the reason that job loss feels so personal is that a lot of us have our self-value, our self-esteem kind of tied up into our identity with having that specific job. So I think that's why it really just hits us so hard. And it's normal to be depressed after losing your job. It's completely normal. In fact, studies show that rates of depression and anxiety double in people who have lost their job compared to people who still have a job. Like, no duh, you're going to be depressed. It is a known fact. A lot of people are trying to find relief and they're trying to find it at the bottom of a bottle. And a lot of the reason that people, kind of get into that is they start feeling more and more guilty and more useless from having lost their job. Because it does feel like a failure. It does feel like it's your fault, even though it's not. And then on top of that, the reduced social interaction from you go from being around people all day, every day with your work, even if they're just nearby, they're there, to you're stuck at home and there's nobody around. That's a huge change. That is very hard for our minds to accept. And not only that, but you also get the jerks that like to say that you staying home is easy or fun, or they're so jealous of you, or you're just being lazy. Honestly, I want to crack some of these people across the mouth. Like, what the heck? The gall to say this kind of thing to people, especially kick them when they're down. Are you serious? I mean, if you have it bad enough that you had to stop working, it's because you're being a full-time patient. You can't do full-time work because you're being a full-time patient. Now, if they keep saying it must be fun to be at home or you're just being lazy or whatever, I like to remind them about the lockdown. Because during the lockdown, you betcha, I had a heyday. It wasn't very nice of me, but, every time people were saying how much they hated being stuck at home, how miserable they were, how depressing it was, and they felt trapped and isolated, I would be like, gee, aren't you having fun though? Isn't it nice to be home all day? That's what you kept saying to me after I got stuck being homebound. Isn't it fun? You kept saying that to me. Bit different when it's not your choice and there's nothing you can do, isn't it? Oh yeah. Getting a little bit of revenge there. Just a little bit. Little bit of revenge. Shouldn't have done that probably. Not a nice thing to do. Normally I'm very proactive about, hey, don't drive a wedge between people, but that was so perfectly them feeling what we feel that I felt it was appropriate. It worked. They've never said that to me again. And then, a lot of people, while they're home, even if they can get past all this other stuff, a lot of us still feel really guilty on our good days. And I think that's because we feel like, oh, maybe we're not so bad. Maybe we should have stayed at work. But the fact is, good days are few and far between when you are already at this point. I understand it, but I'm going to tell you just to knock it off. Because even though I understand it and I've done it myself, that's what I would want people to tell me. Knock it off. A good day is something to be enjoyed, not something to feel guilty about. You're basically beating yourself up for no reason. But again, I do it. Don't take offense. So many of us push ourselves too far trying to stay in our jobs. And so we literally sacrifice our health and our family to work. Are you working to live or are you living to work? You know what I mean? For me, literally all my extra energy was going into working. When I wasn't at work, I was sleeping. And if I had a break or lunch break or whatever at work, I was sleeping. Weekends, sleeping. I wasn't doing anything else. I was in so much pain from pushing myself too hard and too often to work. And even though by the end I had went from full-time to part-time, and even then I was taking a lot of sick days. I even did as needed per diem for a while. And it doesn't matter if those are the only days with energy you have and you're using that energy only to work, you are sacrificing your entire life, your friends, your family. You're sacrificing all that to make money for someone else or just to pay the bills. And I'm going to be honest with you, you're going to find a way to pay the bills. You may not have the standard of living you're used to, but I downsized from a house to a condo. I sold the house, I bought a condo. There are ways. If you have a big gas guzzling car, get a used really small car that's dirt cheap. There are always ways around this stuff. You don't want to do them. They are last resorts, but it's kind of weird that I'm enjoying life more, even though I'm trapped at home and stuck in my own thoughts. I have more of a life now than I did trying to live to work. Woo-woo! Woo-woo! Subscribe! Woo-woo! Listen to the bird. Woo-woo! Woo-woo! Subscribe! Subscribe! Woo-woo! So if you really want to cope with losing your job to chronic illness, I would say the first thing you need to do is just to take a step back and focus on what you can control. A lot of the feeling powerless, the depression, comes from the fact that all of this was out of our control. We had no choice in the matter. We got so sick, and it's scary. It's scary feeling powerless, especially if you were type A. So the first thing you should really do to take back some control in your life is to structure your day. Make a routine, a daily routine for yourself. If you know you can do a couple little things every day without it harming you, that's your routine. And slowly build on that as you get better or detract as you get worse. That's something you can control, and that will actually also help you recover from chronic fatigue, fibromyalgia. That is actually something that really, really, really helps to do. Mentally as well as physically. And, you know, structuring your day for like chores can be, you know, even a full day thing. If I'm gonna do laundry, I can't do laundry. I can do it in a bunch of little pieces that take up the whole day. And so by structuring it this way, I won't beat myself up for it taking all day because I know this is how it works. This is what I do. Go grab the clothes, take a rest. Take the hamper to the washing machine, take a rest. Dump it in there, get it all set to go, turn it on, take a rest. I do usually have my husband move the wet clothes to the dryer, but if he can't, if he's gone on a work trip or something, then it'll take me 3 different times, put some in the dryer, go rest. Put some more in the dryer, go rest. Put some more in the dryer, go rest. Then the dryer's finally full with that one load, and I probably won't fold those clothes until the next day. Like, that's a whole day for me because I know I can only do little spurts before it starts to hurt me and before I will start having physical symptoms of that hurt and before it will cause me to flare up and wreck any progress I've made. You can also use this to deal with your boredom. I mean, if you're bored during the day, structure will help with that as well. You can plan in TV time, book reading time, entertainment time, talking time. I have to plan out my phone calls with people and how long they will be. I have to warn them that I only have this much energy. I can probably talk for 10 minutes, 15 minutes. It's structured. It's very structured. It gives me some control, and it also helps me to not overdo it. And then to actually heal from the emotional loss of losing your job. I mean, that can be your identity at times. That can be a huge part of you that was just taken away. That's a huge loss, and you need to acknowledge your feelings on this. And now, while I do recommend seeing a therapist about it, I also think that the next thing you need to do is to watch this video here all about identity crisis related to chronic illness, because that video I literally go over the grieving process and the identity crisis you have from having chronic illness take away a huge chunk of your life in this field, that field, everything. So I hope that video helps you. I hope this video helped you, and you're not alone in what you're going through. Keep on surviving, my friend.